Welcome to Make Something with me, David Picciuto, and today we are going to attempt to do some stained glass work. Wish me luck. Check it. This is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. I've never done stained glass, but I have a few books and I've been reading them. I've got some good tips. My confidence level is pretty high. I think I know what I'm doing, even though I've never done it. The project that we're going to do today, I think it's going to be a good beginner project because it's all straight cuts. There's no curves in there and it uses some color. If it comes out, I think it's going to come out really cool. So this is a toy from my childhood. This is a Rubik's Cube. So I think I'm going to take a photograph of this, and then from that photograph, I'm going to trace that in Illustrator and then start cutting it up. The cool thing about stained glass is you don't need a lot of tools. You need a glass cutter, you need some solder, you need some copper foil and a soldering iron, and you're good to go. You can expand, you can get a glass grinder, especially if you're doing curves. That's going to help you get down to your line. I have a lot of hobbies. Most of the hobbies that I choose are stupid expensive. Go-kart racing, woodworking, photography, music. Relatively, compared to those other things, this is fairly inexpensive to get into and you don't need a big space. So, first thing I'm going to do, let's photograph the cube. I have the top here turned halfway. I think it'll create some interesting lines. And I'm just gonna find the right angle, take a bunch of photographs. I have my photo imported into Illustrator and I'm gonna take my pen tool and I'm just going to start drawing lines here. So I printed off my template. I had to tile it out because it was bigger than a normal sheet of paper. But the next thing I gotta do is cut out all the little pieces here. So I'm just gonna use a knife. So I have my paper template all cut up and I have my glass here. So the next thing I need to do is transfer that to the glass. So we'll start with the orange. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of orange and they're all marked here. So we'll grab this one. We'll use the existing edge and I'm just gonna draw a line right on the thing. I have my glass cutter here. This one holds oil, but I find it's just easier to dip it in some oil. This is glass cutting oil, which is everywhere now. And I'm just gonna use a straight edge and score it. And you don't need a lot of pressure. I should be able to take this and just break it. This one's a little small and you don't want your fingers on the edge to cut yourself. So I have these pliers, they got a curve in there. Check this out. Isn't that cool? I'm not sure why I chose a project with so many pieces as my first project. I could have planned this out a little bit better, but hey, throw yourself in the fire. I'll have links to all the stuff that I'm using down below, but these curved pliers, these are called running pliers, and then these are grozing pliers. As you can see, I did not get a break right on my line, so you can take this and you kind of nibble away at the glass, wear eye protection. I just want to show you that if you have a project with curves, you can do this just as easy. So let's, I'm going to draw a line on here and I'm just going to curve into that right there. So that should break off. If you have a really steep curve, you might have to make little relief cuts in there. But that is how you can do a curve. So we finally have all the pieces cut. What did that take? Hour and a half. We have to line all the edges with this copper foil. I have two kinds here. I have the black lined copper foil and the silver lined copper foil. If I was going to leave the solder as is, I would use the silver lined copper foil, but I'm gonna add a black patina to my solder. So I'm going to use the black lined. It's adhesive on one side. And so this is like when you open up the a cassette tape and you try to fix it, and then all you do is make everything worse. This copper foil is 7/32 of an inch wide, which is wider than the glass, so you can wrap it around the edges. I'll show you here. I'm talking like I'm an expert, but I've never done this before. But my confidence level is crazy right now. So now we just take that and we push that around so it's wrapped around on both sides, like so. And then we'll kind of burnish it on there. Do the other side. We will do that with all 30 pieces. Last piece, and to be honest with you, I'm glad I'm finally done. So here's what I've learned so far in stained glass making. There's a point where you just don't want to do it anymore. And I started to get a little sloppy. I think that's going to affect how our solder flows in the next step. So now, just like welding, we'll tack up all the corners. It's 60% tin, 40% lead. And so you just put a little bit of flux where you want the solder to go. And from what I understand, it is just a little bit. This is a little tougher than I anticipated. I don't have good solid joints, so it's like I'm sort of filling in. There is definitely a technique that I don't have down yet, but you put the solder down first, the iron on top, and then right along that. Whoop. Come on, come on. And I'm finding I'm not getting a good bead. Could be too much flux, but if I go over it, I can sometimes get it to, oh yeah, look a little better. It's not the worst, but you can go over it and kind of correct your mistakes. I get better when I go over it. See, look at that. That looks nice. We have to stop right here. This is not how I was expecting this project to come out. It looks like crap. This is no good. This is not what I envisioned in my head. The joints are terrible. I did not cut my glass good enough. My soldering technique is just pure crap. And my foiling could have been way better. So we're gonna stop this project dead in its tracks and start completely over. I've got a new design. I did a second one off camera, worked on my technique, and then what you see here is my third one, which I got way, way better. This is a wooden frame that I'm making to hold all my pieces in together nice and tight. I'm using CA glue so I can easily knock off the pieces later. Wood glue would kind of make it permanent. So I'm soldering my joints. This is coming out so much better. I got my soldering technique down a little bit better as I'm following down the line. I still had to go over all the solder beads and clean them up, but I got really clean beads this time. And I'm able to knock away the frame just with a hammer, not hitting the glass, of course. And then there is my piece. I did the outsides and the back, and I added a little hoop using speaker wire. Dan came up with this speaker wire idea. So I cleaned everything up with some stained glass flux cleaner and then brushed on some black patina. This has some sort of chemical reaction with the solder and turns it black instantly. It's really cool. Then once again, you clean everything up with that same cleaner. It neutralizes the patina and cleans everything up. So you wipe that away, and then I'm just using some car wax on here to polish up the glass and the solder joints. This is my first attempt. That is no good. My second attempt got much better. I would say that's acceptable. For me, it's acceptable. And then my third attempt, I think I got it down. It is definitely a skill. It's not something you're just going to get perfect your first try. I went in with a high confidence level, and maybe that was where I went wrong, but I like diving in. I like throwing myself in the fire, just all in right away. So yeah, a couple hours later, a couple tries later, I think I got it. I'm really, really happy with this one. I got an understanding for the soldering iron, the heat that I needed, and then the speed that I needed to go at. So there's a feel to it. There's definitely a feel to it. I have a lot of respect for people who've been doing this for a long time and make beautiful pieces. It can be very tedious cutting out all those tiny little pieces and then getting them to all fit together. I'm trying to really expand outside of woodworking and bringing in other disciplines into my work so I can combine all these different techniques and skills and styles and then come up with my own unique pieces. And that's where the stained glass is going to come in. Hopefully I can take this stained glass and make some beautiful colorful doors for future woodworking projects, or just make pieces of art. That's what this Rubik's Cube was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a piece of art, and it turned out it was a piece of shit. But it was a great learning experience. I'm so happy that I went through it. I'm so happy that I stopped and then reevaluated what I was doing wrong and then moved forward with the proper technique. I have links to all the tools that I use down in the description, as well as some books and some videos that I recommend to help get you started. That is it, folks. We'll see you very soon with a new project. As always, be safe, have fun, stay passionate, and make something.